Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Hope everybody's having a good Saturday. Really busy in Bangor today. Lots of shopping. Restaurants are busting at the seams. But there's also been quite a few accidents, from minor to major, around here, and it's all mostly it's coming around over on Stillwater where that stupid fucking on-ramp to the interstate sits. People are just racing through the lights before they turn red, and you know, I don't know. It's not all the driver's fault at the same time though, because the way they set that up, the way the city set that up, they didn't think it through. It's a dangerous place to go through. That's up by the Texas Roadhouse and Subway, and over there, that whole little area right there is it's just a nightmare. Because what you have is they bottleneck everything and then they open it up again, and where the bottleneck is, that's where the traffic usually ends up into some problems. So yeah, but anyway, yeah, it's busy. It wasn't very cold. It was in the mid to upper 20s today, so it wasn't really cold, no wind blowing. And it started off really sunny today. It's getting a little more overcast now, but it's dark out, so you don't really care. But but yeah, that's what's going on here. I want you guys to play a little bit of a imagination thing here, okay? Imagine that you are one of the old original Xbox games from the 90s, okay? The very first one that came out, okay? For those of you, I don't know how many of you would even know what I'm talking about, but okay, just imagine this. And the last time it was used was in 2005. And then it comes back on in the year 2025. That's what happened with my Xbox, okay? And believe it or not, the thing still works, and everything that I had saved on it is still there. Yeah, I hadn't played with that thing for 20 years. And the last saved thing on it was in 2005. I mean, 2005. That was the last time I used it and stopped playing with it for 20 years, close to 20 years. So, you know, I keep everything, okay? And I kept it safe, and, I never abused it or banged it or anything like that. So I took it out today and hooked it up. Let me see if you can see it. Okay, there it is. So yeah, there it is, and took it out of the box it was in, had it wrapped, and set it up, plugged it in. When I turned it on, it took a little bit longer to boot up than it usually does, but it finally did. And when I pressed the button to have the drawer come out, it was stuck, like it wouldn't come out. So I don't know if you know this, but there is a tiny, tiny hole that only a paper clip can get into. And that is supposed to open the drawer in case it gets stuck. So I had to do that. I had put a paper clip into that hole and the drawer come out. Once I get a game in there, close the drawer, started to work. And I was playing with it just to see. So I was amazed that it's functional, and I got a lot of games. I didn't throw away any game that I ever bought for that, so I got like 40, 45 games for that damn thing. I don't know how long it's gonna last. I don't know, but yeah, 20 years still works. But then again, I have an old Atari 2600, and it still works too. And I have it where you can hook that up to the TV. There's an adapter that they still make, even for the modern TVs, that you just connect it to, and bingo. So it still works. And see, my point is when you take care of something, it lasts. If you're not abusive to it, and you be careful with it, it'll last. Sure, there's going to be, anything electronic is going to have issues at some point, but the best thing to do is don't create those issues, by beating on it and stuff. And when I go to Bull Moose, they have old games for that particular Xbox. Okay, they still sell them there. And I bought a couple for that here a while back. But I never even played with it. I just bought them because I liked, it was like one was Batman, the other one was, and I figured, yeah, I'm going to hook up the Xbox, I'll play it, and I didn't do it. So I finally got to do it yesterday. Got to do it yesterday, and I hooked it up, and I started playing those games and all that. Got them for next to nothing because that's such an outdated game. You could pick them up for like less than $1. So yeah, I was kind of stunned, but I thought it was kind of odd that it kept the information that I had in there for 20 years in its memory. The game that I had last played on it was Rebel Commando in 2005, and I had stopped playing it after that. I don't know what happened. Life got in the way, I guess. I don't know. I just didn't mess with it anymore. For 20 years I didn't mess with it. But anyway, yeah, so it's sitting here, and it's working now, and I don't know for how long. So hopefully, if it does break, maybe I can buy another one off eBay, because that's where you're going to have to go to find one that still might be working. But, anyway. All right, so here's the first story here, which is, kind of more of the shit that we're still getting from the Epstein stuff. But Trump Epstein photos yet released are the worst. More photos of Jeffrey Epstein were released by the House Oversight Committee, and Donald Trump and Steve Bannon are both pictured. Trump is pictured playing with women, and Epstein and Steve Bannon is pictured with Epstein at a table. Well, here's, I don't know if you've seen any of the pictures, but here's two of them. There's Trump here, and this is a damn thing. And of course, they got these faces all blocked, so you don't know who they are. And I don't know why this thing doesn't focus better. Anyway, one of the photos even revealed, quote, trunk condoms, unquote, for $4.50 with the text, quote, I'm huge, unquote, on them. That description can't be accurate. So let's just add that to the huge list of lies coming from these freaks. Yes, and here's a picture. Trump condoms, and then that's Trump hidden on that. It says, I'm huge. Epstein's relationship with Bannon, once one of Trump's closest advisors, was revealed to be closer than previously known. In emails released in November, Bannon and Epstein seemed to have a more personal relationship with Epstein, telling Bannon, quote, I'll make sure you're well looked after, unquote. Creepy. Bannon was also previously working on a documentary to rehabilitate Epstein's image, but the very day they were planning it, Epstein was arrested on federal sex trafficking charges. as more details of Epstein's crimes and Trump association come out, we need to keep ensuring the victims get justice and ensure Trump pays for what he's done. Yeah, so a treasure trove of things coming out still about this, and I don't know how many people even knew about it, but I certainly didn't hear anything about it on the news or anything like that. That came in through one of these internet news outfits that had it. So let's see. Next story. Here's this story here from The Guardian. And this has been repeated recently here because she had recently been interviewed and said the same thing again here. I am not done. Kamala Harris says she may run for president yet again. In a BBC interview, former vice president says she isn't done with politics and could possibly be the next president. Kamala Harris said she was not done with politics and strongly suggested that she was considering another bid for president. In an interview scheduled to air on the BBC Sunday morning, Harris said that she would, quote-unquote, possibly be the next president, making the clearest suggestion to date that she would make another run for the White House in 2028, despite lagging far behind in the polls. Harris insisted that she had not yet made a decision, but that she was confident that there would eventually be a woman in the White House and her political career was not over. I am not done, she said. Quote, I have lived my entire career as a life of service, and it's in my bones, unquote. Harris dismissed polls that place her as an outsider to win a place in the Democrat ticket, currently ranking behind even Hollywood actor Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Quote, if I listened to polls, I would have not run for my first office or my second, and I certainly wouldn't be sitting here, unquote. In the interview on Sunday with Laura Kussenberg, the UK's prime weekend political show, Harris said the warnings she made on the campaign trail about Donald Trump behaving as a fascist and authoritarian had been proven right. She lambasted her former rival as a quote-unquote tyrant with quote-unquote thin skin, who was weaponizing the justice system. Harris pointed to the suspension of late-night comic Jimmy Kimmel by ABC after he joked about Republican reaction to the killing of right-wing activist Charlie Kirk. Kimmel's ousting was celebrated by Trump and came after a Trump-appointed regulator threatened ABC. Quote, he said he would weaponize the Department of Justice, and he's done exactly that. His skin is so thin he couldn't endure criticism from a joke and attempted to shut down an entire media organization in the process, unquote, she said. Harris also slammed business leaders and institutions in the U.S. whom she accused of submitting to Trump's tyrannical demands. Quote, there are many that have capitulated since day one who are bending the knee at the foot of a tyrant. I believe for many reasons, including they want to be next to power because they want to perhaps have a merger approved or avoid an investigation, unquote. In a response to the BBC, a White House spokesperson said, quote, when Kamala Harris lost the election in a landslide, she should have taken a hint. The American people don't care about her absurd lies, unquote. Harris is on an international book tour promoting 107 Days, her account of her abbreviated 2024 presidential run, which began only after Biden withdrew from the race following months of speculation about his cognitive decline. She blamed the election loss on the unprecedentedly short campaign, but questions about her communication style, authenticity, and failure to connect with working-class voters remain unanswered. Harris and the Democratic Party more broadly have also failed to fully acknowledge the role Biden's unchecked and uncritical support of what a UN commission has described as Israel's genocidal war on Gaza played in alienating voters. Okay, so yeah. My opinion here, look, and I'm not trying to say this to offend people, okay, but I think this is really the truth or the core. America is not ready, it seems, for a woman president, let alone a black woman president. Okay, and this goes down the backs of both parties, not just Republicans, but Democrats too. There are bigots and misogynists in the Democrat Party, believe it or not. They're out there. And I just think a lot of people don't want to see that. Now, as well as she managed last year with her campaign, okay, and she got a lot of attention, it scared the shit out of Trump, okay? Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone off the deep end like he did towards the end, okay, doing all these cheap publicity stunts and shit like that. He was afraid. She did well. Okay, if it had been anybody else but Trump, she probably would have won, maybe. Okay, I don't know. But I think one of the things that was hindering her was the shit going on overseas, and the fact that people wanted an a thumbs up or thumbs down fucking answer from her that she really wouldn't give to these people, and and it's just. What can I say? The concerns were split in the Democrat Party. You had those people who cared about the economy and education, okay, like college and stuff like that. And then you had the other side that was the, Israel and what was going on over there, the Palestinians and shit. Okay, and I think those two things, kind of played against one another, and that's sort of what divided up people's support or non-support of Kamala. Okay. Would she win if she ran again against somebody else? It depends on who the Republican candidate is. I mean, I don't. If J.D. Vance ran, I'm sorry, but the Republicans are going to have to do better than that. Okay, Vance has been basically just a sidekick that you don't see much, and you don't even know what he's doing. Once in a while, he might come out and say something that gets viral attention from people laughing and mocking him what he said. Okay, but most of the time, he ain't doing anything. Okay? And, the Republicans were saying the same thing about Kamala Harris as when she was under Biden, vice president. She never did anything. But yet, when she was running for president, every mistake Biden made now became her mistake. Okay, you see what I'm saying? They transferred all that onto her. Okay, so you can't have it both ways. Either she was doing her job or she wasn't. Okay, But do I think she could win? Like I said, it would only depend on who the Republicans pick to run for their party in 2028. And right now, it seems like the only people out there and on the right wing that that are getting all the attention are folks that people really don't like. Okay, that we criticize. The ones grabbing all the headlines are the Marjorie Taylor Greens of their party, and we sure as hell don't want to see any of those freaks running for president. So if the Republicans are genuine about wanting to get the White House, they're going to have to come up with some genuine choices, people that have respect, people that don't have backgrounds in whatever sin is out there. Okay, they want people that have the possibility. They got to sound reasonable. They can't be insulting. Okay, they're going to have to put aside that racist talk that Trump's been using here to get his way. They're going to have to undo that, because the minute they start getting people that run that, it's going to be echoes from the past, and people are going to tune right out from that. And if that's what they end up grabbing to run against Kamala, then maybe she does have a chance to win. But that's going to depend on Democrats putting aside their racism, putting aside their misogyny, and coming together just to get her in there. Okay? At some point, you're going to have to say, what's good for the country? Is it them or is it us? Who do you think is going to do the job better? I mean, come on. Lay the cards out on the table. I mean, people, if you were hiring somebody to do a very important job for you, okay, and you had 2 applications sitting in front of you, wouldn't you pick the better one? Of course you would. I would. You would. Everybody that I know would, okay? But if one of those applicants happens to be a female, would you still pick the better one, or would you just go with the guy? You know, and unfortunately, you know, we like to think that the feminist movement in this country has made strides. Maybe they have, but not very much. Okay, there's still much work to do. You know, women are still not equal to men in this country. And the proof is in the pudding. You know, how many women presidents have we had in this country in 250 fucking years? Zero, okay? You know, we may have had a vice president, but we sure as hell haven't got the presidency yet. And I think, you know, it's about goddamn time, okay? Because every other country on the planet, even the communist countries, have had female, you know, leaders and stuff like that, okay? We just don't seem to want to get with the program here. You know, that everyone's equal. Everyone is capable. Everybody's capable. But men, you know, I mean, you know, they just, I don't know. And even some women, you wouldn't believe that, but some women actually are misogynists. You know? And it's like, why? It's because they grew up around a bunch of guys, and now that shit was thrown into their head for years, and so they grow up with you know, prejudices that they shouldn't even be carrying. You know, it's like black people hating other black people, you know, and them calling them the N-word and everything else. Okay, that's about as much sense it makes. But yes, there are women out there that are misogynists. They will turn on their own, unfortunately. I mean, there were a lot of women who didn't like Hillary Clinton, okay? And so it's just, like I said, I'm not going to say that Kamala's got a good chance. I'm just going to say she can run if she wants, but it all depends who's running against her, if she wins or not. Okay, and I wouldn't bet on her winning, not in this climate, this political climate right now. In fact, I think another thing that would be that people would be thinking about is, where the hell has she been all this year? You know, she hasn't really come out in force to oppose or say anything about Trump. Okay, she's been quietly in the scene, background, but we don't really hear much from her this year, you know, and we haven't heard much from, you know, like other people. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, I mean, you know, the people that have the Democrat top, as it were, they've largely been silent, you know, for most of this, while all the other people under them, you know, have been saying all kinds of things about Trump and everything. But, you know, I just don't get it, you know. That's one thing Republicans do differently. If they don't like somebody, they all come out in force, in unity, okay, from the top down. They all come out against it. But Democrats, it's like, you know, they're too afraid to say anything negative. They're too afraid to sound confrontational. They're too afraid to get in the gutter, as it were, to fight. I mean, if your enemy lives in the gutter, if you're going to defeat your enemy, where you got to go, right? I mean, you can't just play it cool. You can't be on the top of the hill all the time, because you'll be standing alone on that hill. Everybody else will be, okay? Sometimes you got to get down in the mud. And with a guy like Trump, that's the only place you can fight him and win, okay? Because right now, the mud is swelling up around him, and he's unable to really dig himself out of it. And that's the time to go after this fucker, okay? So everybody in the Democrat Party, from Kamala Harris on down, they need to double down on fighting Trump, because, you know, he's sinking in the swamp here of all this shit with Epstein and the crimes he's been committing internationally and at home. I mean, come on. This is the time to attack. You know, right now, his approval numbers dipped yet again, another 5 points. Okay? And he sees this and he's getting pissed. But it's like an idiot that can't learn anything. If you want your poll numbers to go the other way, then you need to stop doing what you're doing. Jesus, I mean, come on. Why aren't his advisors telling him that? Maybe he don't listen. Maybe he don't care. I don't know. I mean, I guess he figures if he can't run for another term, he can pretty much do what he wants in this one, you know. That being said, that, in my opinion, it's like, well, why should anybody worry about the repercussions of attacking him now? Okay? If he doesn't plan on, you know, trying to circumvent the Constitution, and he's just going to run out this one final term, then it's no holds barred as far as I'm concerned. The Democrats ought to be coming out like fucking gorillas in the, in the wild. They need to come out after him, because hey, you know, this will only help the Democrats in 2028 to get the seat, the White House seat. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. That you know. But I'm not saying Kamala Harris isn't qualified. She is qualified. She would make a great president. If this country was really honest about it, they would say, yeah, she would be better president than anybody that we currently know in the Democrat Party. But this isn't a perfect world, and we don't live that way, and people are fucked up in the head when it comes to politics. So, you know, it's still a 50-50 thing, you know, or maybe 60-40, I don't know. But you know, I don't think personally that she's got a sealed, victory if she runs. I would say, Tim Walz, if he decides to run for president, he'd be pretty good. He was pretty popular during that last year's campaign. People liked him because he didn't mince words. I mean, he said things that people understood. He could talk to the blue-collar worker really well, and so, he'd be a good person to run for president. So, anyway, let's go to commercial break, and we shall return.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This
is me.
me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
Call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want. Go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
How dare anyone other than me profit off of my husband's death? Because this was literally Erica Kirk at the end of that interview.
Will never back down. And so my message to them is to stop. To stop.
And that's what we will say here on Outnumbered 2. God bless you. Hold up your book.
Stop in the name of God.
My message to them is to stop. But not you. My message to you is to go. Go buy my book. Unbelievable. Now, Erica didn't call anyone out by name, but anyone with a brain can assume that she was talking about people like Candace Owens, who lately has put out episode after episode after episode trying to get down to the bottom of Charlie Kirk's death. And what I find crazy is that Erica has more anger and fury towards people who are asking questions, some of them very valid ones, than she did for the person that allegedly took out her husband. I forgive him. And ultimately, are you genuinely surprised, Erica? This is your fan base. Your fan base cares more about conspiracy theories and pizza gates and Qs and elemental Ps than they do about actual policy. Your husband used Candace Owens to push him into fame. It was okay to use Candace Owens to push your bullshit agenda and all the insane things that would come out of her mouth. But now, let's pump the brakes. It doesn't work that way. You open up Pandora's box. You legitimize someone when it comes to the shit you want them to say. But now that they're opening Pandora's box on you, we need to close it? Ultimately, I have no skin in this part of the game. They could tear each other to shreds for all I care. But I do have some advice for you, Erica. Just answer her questions. It's not that hard. Because from an outsider's perspective, it looks sketchy. And it looks like the only reason you were chosen to be the CEO is so you can play the tearful widow card. And that doesn't sound like a job you got based off of merit, which we all know your husband was a champion of. Anyways, bye.
Every time it grabs a mic, the whole room starts to groan. Another word salad tossed from his collapsing golden throne. He rants about disasters that never came to pass, and we all brace ourselves for more stupidity and gas. He's babbling about a windmill, sharks, bleach, and phantom flights. A toddler with a bullhorn who never learned his rights. So when he starts his nonsense, bragging like a stable genius, we send him the signal that says enough of your obsceneness. Quiet piggy, hush that snout, stop the nonsense that you're spewing out. Quiet piggy, take a seat, your bullshit buffet's now complete. Quiet piggy, sip that lip, spare us one more ego trip. Quiet piggy, calm it down, go lurk somewhere your chaos can't be found. He mangles every fact like he's shredding cheap confetti. Claims he won a landslide living only in his heady. He points at phantom crowds demanding praise they never gave, while we all sit here wondering what is rattling in that cave. He's screaming about enemies he drew with crayon fury, turns every damn press briefing into fan fiction jury. So when the circus soundtrack plays and all the lies get sticky, the whole room chants together loud and fast and wicked picky. Quiet piggy, hush that snout, stop the nonsense that you're spewing out. Quiet piggy, take a seat, your bullshit buffet's now complete. Quiet piggy, sip that lip, spare us one more ego trip. Quiet piggy, calm it down, go lurk somewhere your chaos can't be found. You think after all these years he'd find a book to read, or maybe hire someone smart to help him plant a seed. But here he goes again, a spray tan thunderstorm, predictable as sunrise and equally lukewarm. Quiet piggy, hush that snout, stop the nonsense that you're spewing out. Quiet piggy, take a seat, your bullshit buffet is now complete. Quiet piggy, sip that lip, spare us one more ego trip. Quiet piggy, calm it down, go rumble off and plague some other town. So the next time he erupts with something vile, dumb or jiggy, just take a breath, stand tall and say, quiet piggy, quiet piggy,
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Okay, so this other story is from Daily Dose here. Marjorie Taylor Greene launches a last-second effort to unseat Mike Johnson. Marjorie Taylor Greene has one final Christmas present for the speaker she hates so very much. A last-ditch attempt to oust Representative Johnson from his leadership position. Anonymous sources have told MS Now, formerly MSNBC, that, quote, Marjorie is approaching members to get to 9 who will oust the speaker. And if we don't get to work on codifying Trump's agenda, anything can happen, unquote. If you remember a few years back, Kevin McCarthy agreed to change the rules to allow a single Congress member to file a motion to vacate the chair in order to get himself confirmed as the speaker, which was then promptly used to remove him from the speakership. Now Greene is trying to use it to get rid of Johnson at a time when their party is reeling from electoral defeats. Poll numbers are plummeting due to Trump's bad economy, and state parties are openly defying the White House. The last thing that the GOP needs is yet another cutthroat leadership fight, so thank you, Marjorie. We'll light a Jewish space candle for you this Hanukkah. Yeah, I mean, look, the situation with MAGA and the Republican Party is tenuous, okay? There's really a lot of infighting going on right now with them, and largely due to Mike Johnson and Trump, okay? And I don't see how this, they're going to be in any shape to run during the midterms to hold on to seats. And that's what's pushing this. That's what's pushing this thing that she's doing here, is that a lot of them probably went to Marge and said, look, okay, I got, the Democrats in my state are picking up momentum here. The approval numbers are rising. And, we are coming into midterms, and I don't think my chances are good that I'll win. That's probably why a lot of them have already, resigned, left, whatever, because they know they can't. They can see the handwriting on the wall that this is it. You had your fun, and now it's going to be over. And so this thing here with Johnson, I mean, come on. Right now, Johnson is really tainted right now with a lot of scandal himself. And, any other time in American history, he would have been ousted already. They wouldn't have kept him in there, okay? So the fact that they keep him there is only because it helps out Trump to keep leverage in Congress, okay? Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks she can get him ousted. I say, well, if you don't have the means or the power or the clout to be able to remove him because of Trump, you could be just pissing in the wind here. And I just, I'm not gonna discourage her if she wants to try, if she thinks she's got the muscle there behind her to do it. I mean, I don't. But You know, who the hell would take Johnson's place? You know, is the other question. You know, think about that. Is there anybody in the Republican Party that's worth their ass that could sit in that chair? They may not be able to sit there very long if they lose everything in the midterms. Then, you know, there'll be a Democrat sitting in there. But, you know, like I said, this is a really difficult time for MAGA and the Republicans right now. All that they had gained last year to win the White House, they've lost. Essentially, they've lost everything that they gained. So they won nothing, okay, because they couldn't stay together. You know, it was a victory, but it was an empty one, because at the end, once they got what they wanted, they all just kind of beat each other up and everything, because, you know, largely because of Trump's policies that attacked them. They turned on each other, you know, and the fight's still going on. So the party's really in shambles right now. And I ain't going to say the Democrats is not in some dire straits either, but, you know, when you're looking at, you know, one side trying to hold on to what power they have, you know, it's going to be a hell of a fight. It's going to be a hell of a fight, you know, especially, like I said, with Trump having lost 5 more fucking approval number points. Okay, that's really a bad thing, because they're going to take it out on the Congress and senators and all them next year. They're going to take out their anger about Trump on them. They're the ones that's going to suffer the consequences, you know. So, yeah, that's what's going on with that. And, you know, I'm not the only one that thinks so, because here's this little thing that says Trump's hand-picked RNC chair admits that the party is doomed in 2026 in the midterms. Quote, "It's not a secret. There's no sugarcoating it. It's a pending, looming disaster heading our way. We are facing almost certain defeat," unquote. Is not exactly what a party wants to hear before a pivotal midterm election, but that's what Joe Grutters, the chair of the RNC, believes is in store for his party next fall. So you see, you know, Trump can, you know, and MAGA can think what they want, but the people in the party, the ones who can, you know, turn it around, I guess, they're already throwing up the fucking white flag, okay? They've already given up. They don't think they're going to win. Trump has screwed them over so bad, okay, that it's just terrible for them. So here is another story that could be a practice in futility here, but let me read this anyway. National Trust for Historic Preservation sues to try to stop White House ballroom construction. The National Trust for Historic Preservation, the privately funded nonprofit designated by Congress to protect historic sites, is suing in an attempt to stop the construction of the White House ballroom. In a complaint filed Friday in the U.S. District Court for D.C., the organization is asking for the project to be stopped until it completes the federal review process standard for federal building projects and seeks public comment on the proposed changes. Quote, "No president is legally allowed to tear down portions of the White House without any review whatsoever. Not President Trump, not President Biden, and not anyone else," unquote, the complaint said. Quote, "And no president is legally allowed to construct a ballroom on public property without giving the public the opportunity to weigh in," unquote. Yeah, I've been saying that all along. I mean, look, it's like, you know, this is not his house. It's the people's house, okay? It's the government, and we are the government, and we pay taxes on that shit, okay? And Trump goes in there and he starts ripping up the Rose Garden and everything else to add that fucking ballroom on there. Well, it's a little late for this to happen now, because they show pictures and, you know, it looks like it's close to being finished. Okay? So the damage is already done. But the fact is, it's a ballroom that's being built that did not get our consent, because it doesn't belong to him. It's not his property. It's federal property. It's public property. Okay? It belongs to all of us. So no president had ever had the right to do something like that without some kind of permission granted to them, all right? And this historic organization is only trying to protect it, and Trump totally ignored it. which is not unusual. That's Trump. He never listens to anybody. But I'm surprised that, you know, more action wasn't taken the minute he started talking about laying down the fucking foundation and all that. At that point, that's when they should have stepped in and said, no, you can't do that. Okay? It should have been a political fight, you know, to put the brakes on the construction or go after the construction company and to stop them from proceeding. That's what should have happened, but nobody did a fucking thing. Okay, and like I said, this work has been going on here for months and months, and it's sick, you know, really. He could have built that motherfucker anywhere else in D.C. if he wanted to. Really. He would have had his choice property to be able to build something like that if that's what he wanted. If that's what anybody wanted, they could have done that already. But there was never a need for a ballroom. No president had ever thought of, oh, well, we need a ballroom here next to the White House. Nobody thought that because they didn't need it. There's all kinds of places around where they could have parties and shit like that. They didn't need to make that. No, this was all about Trump. Selfish Trump. Vain Trump. Okay? He wanted something there left behind to say, oh, I was president and I made that, you know. You know, like I said, you know, if whoever becomes president next would do the country a service if they would tear that motherfucker down and replant the rose garden where it was, okay, and try to recreate it the way it looked. That's what they should do. Say, look, this was not even allowed by the public, okay? Nobody wants this. If you ask anybody, you're going to see majority of the country did not say he can do this, okay? And they should just gut that right down. Right after, you know, after they build it, just tear it down. Say, no, we can't do this, not unless we get approval. And since we didn't get it, you know, because Trump sidestepped that you know, that thing that he had to do, we're just going to knock it down. Okay? And you're going to do it the right way. And that's what I would do. Because personally, I don't want to see anything that has Trump's fucking name on it. Okay? I don't want to see any buildings that's got his name on it. I don't want to see any fucking thing that's got his face on it. I just want that guy to be a nightmare that we run from, essentially. Because he's not a president. I told you before, this is an illegal presidency. He did not win the White House the right way. He was not qualified to run for the White House. He should not have been allowed to run for the White House. But he was allowed to run, and he won. And every executive order that he's issued while he's been there is illegal, in my opinion, because he is not qualified to be there. He is a criminal. We are not supposed to let criminals sit in the White House. And I'm not talking about a criminal like, oh, I didn't pay my taxes. Okay, no, I'm talking about he raped a woman. Okay? He stole national secrets and put them in Mar-a-Lago in the fucking bathroom. Okay? That's the crimes I'm talking about. Not little things, big things. Yes, and he didn't pay taxes like he should. Okay? So the man's a criminal. And we are not supposed to put criminals in the White House. So he is illegally sitting in the White House only because people would not oppose him getting that seat. Like I said, the country, you and me, we are the government. And because we did not say enough to prevent him getting in there, that's why he's there. So, would you let, you know, Ted Bundy sit in the White House? Would you let, you know, Jeffrey Dahmer sit in the White House? Would you let, you know, I don't know. Take your pick of some of the criminals, the really nasty criminals that we've known. You know, would you let them sit in the White House? You guys didn't want Bill Clinton sitting in the White House, and what the fuck did he really do? That was so bad. Oh, the Republicans will tell you it was bad. He got a blowjob. But Trump, he's got that and then some from all kinds of people. All right, but like I said, if you're not going to allow it for one side, you can't allow it on the other. And like I said, Trump is not supposed to be the president, so we don't call his administration an administration. We call it a regime. We don't call him a president. We call him a tyrant. Okay? And I certainly don't call it a democratic or a democracy. It's more of fascism is what it is. So we're not really living under a proper presidency in this country. Donald Trump should not be included, you know, in the list of presidents that we have in our schools, because he's not really a president. He didn't get there constitutionally. He got that by subverting the law. You know, stacking the fucking deck, as it were, to win the card game. That's how he did it, okay? He didn't do it fair, and that's why he's there. So he still, in my opinion, he still hasn't proved that he deserves to be there. And his actions have proven the point that he's incapable of being a president because of his criminality. It's in his fucking bones. It's in his damn blood. That's the reason why we don't put criminals in the White House, is because of what Trump's been doing. He's starting international incidents for no goddamn reason. He tells us what it's for, but do we trust him? He's a liar. He's a known liar. The fucking every time he's in front of the camera, he's lying. You know? So why do we want to believe him that the boats that he's been bombing off Venezuela have anything in there? Okay? They show us pictures, but can you make any head or tail out of what the hell's on the boat? Of course not. It's not intended to show you anything. He's just showing you stuff to show, oh, see, these people are criminals. These are drug dealers. Really? If it's true, then why do they keep trying to get drugs into someplace by boat when they know they're being bombed? Okay, don't you think they would have tried a different way now? Knowing that, well, we can't be on the water because the U.S. Navy's out there shooting us down, so maybe we need to find another way. No, they're still showing boats being bombed, and... how do we know it ain't the same boat? They keep playing over and over and over again just to show, oh, here's a new one. It's the same boat. You know what I'm saying? How do we know? We don't know, because we can't trust the guy that we got in the White House to tell us the truth. What he's doing down there is illegal, but we don't know what's really going on. They just seized an oil tanker. I don't know if you saw that, but the Navy had seized an oil tanker. It said that oil tanker was heading to Iraq or Iran or somewhere where they're not supposed to be getting oil. Really? Okay. So that's your theory. There's no proof to show us that that's what they were on that boat. There was nobody there, it seemed, when they showed they took video footage of people boarding this oil tanker, but didn't see anybody on there resisting or anything like that, so I don't know. I mean, hell, for all we know, it could be AI, for Christ's sake, but, we don't hear the country that left from, like, oh, the United States has seized one of our boats. Didn't hear anything about that from, because they certainly would have made a story about it. But we're not hearing anything from it. It's awful quiet, It's sort of like when Trump supposedly got shot and hit his ear. Didn't see any doctor report or anything like that proved that he got hit. And the next time we see him, his ear looked perfectly fine. Not even a scratch. Some people say, he didn't get shot. Some people say he didn't win the election. And some people say his name figures prominently in the Epstein files. So, like I said, we just can't believe what he says. His credibility is shot, and that's what's hurting him, is because when he doubles down on trying to make people believe him, nobody can. He's the boy that cried wolf so much that people just don't fucking care what he says anymore. I mean, Caroline Leavitt, she can talk till she's blue in the face, but no one really looks at her seriously. They don't hear anything coming out of her mouth that really matters to them anymore, because they know she's lying just, for Trump. She's doing Trump's job by lying. So there's no point in listening to any press conferences or something that's being run by her or anybody else in that administration, or that regime, I should say. There's no point in listening to them, because none of them are going to tell you the truth. None of them are going to answer a question honestly. It's not going to happen. Okay? And when you hurt a government's credibility, it's very hard to get it back. So whoever becomes president again after this, you know, they're going to have an uphill battle to try to save face for the rest of this country to say, well, we're not going to lie to you. Okay, well, after, what, 2 terms with Trump, you know, I think we're going to say, nah, you know, no one's going to believe it. So they're really going to have to try hard to make this country believe in its government again, because Trump has destroyed it. He's destroyed it really bad. And unless people start to see some big changes made by getting rid of Trump things that's been going on, you know, like the people he appointed, the judges he bought, okay, the Supreme Court that he's got in his pocket, unless people see that undone, they're never going to believe a damn thing any president from here on out ever says, ever again, ever, okay? And that's really bad, because when that happens, I mean, you know, your country is doomed from that day on, because when people stop listening, they don't believe anymore, it's so much easier for a revolt to happen in that situation, because people have just given up on the government ever doing anything in their favor. Okay, they're just gonna say fuck the government. No one's gonna have any respect for it ever again. You know, and that's what creates revolts. That's what creates uprisings. You see this happen in other countries in the world. People just totally have it up to here with their government, and they come together and they revolt. So, I mean, that's where we're headed, basically. Either sooner or later, it's going to happen. So, all right, that's it for today. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the weekend. Subscribe, comment, share. Keep your ears open for health issues. And help each other out. Be friendly. This is Christmas season here, so let's try and, you know, do the right thing here, okay? At least, you know, in respect to the holiday. So I'll talk to you later, so take care.